Hello, everybody. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to my channel for those new to it. By the way, we recently changed the name. We are now Wild Interviews with Fabrizio Lasardi. So, let's start. In here, we have our colleague Robert Seyfarth, directly from the USA. Robert will give us a bit introduction of himself, and well, let's hit it. Welcome, Robert. It is a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. My name is Robert Seyfarth, and I'm a professor at the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia in the United States, and I have spent my entire life studying the social behavior of wild primates in Africa. Um, uh, and baboons have been a major topic of study. I worked in South Africa studying baboons from 1972 to 1974, a long time ago. That was for my PhD thesis. And then more recently, from 1992 until 2008, I studied baboons with my wife, Dorothy Cheney, in the Okavango Delta of Botswana.
Wow, wow, that's a lot of work experience, and one that it's very important right now for the research you have done. The Okavango Delta was a special place for you. In while you were there, you published your research on vocalizations of baboons, right? And you did a great part of it in the Okavango Delta. What can you tell us about it?
Well, the Okavango Delta is a spectacular wildlife reserve in the northwest corner of Botswana. And it's a place where rivers come from the northwest in Angola, and they flow toward the Kalahari Desert, and they break up in the delta and eventually dry out during the dry season, but they form a huge wildlife area that is seasonally flooded, and it's filled with lots and lots of animals, including baboons. And we began our work there in 1992, taking over a long-term study that had been started by our colleague, Bill Hamilton, in the 1970s. And one of the first things that you do when you want to study baboons is you have to get them used to being followed by humans at close range. And we didn't have too much work to do because Professor Hamilton had done most of the work themselves. But in other areas of Africa, people follow baboons on foot, and the baboons at first will run away, but after a while, if they see that you're not a threat to them, they will allow you to walk among them. And so we would spend each day, we would know where the baboons were sleeping in trees. We would go out early in the morning, find the group that we were studying. They would come down out of the trees, and then they would spend the day on the ground, foraging and feeding and resting and grooming, and we would walk among them. We knew all the animals individually. That takes a long time to learn. And we would use small handheld computers to take data on their social behavior. And one of the reasons why we were interested in vocalizations is that vocalizations tell us a lot about how the animals communicate with each other. And you can make tape recordings of vocalizations and then do experiments with the baboons where you film them and you play from a concealed loudspeaker the sound of baboons interacting in certain ways and see how the listeners react. And so that's how we got interested in vocalizations.
Amazing. It sounds simply amazing. You know, the simple fact of knowing every animal in the troop individually and also having these kinds of tapes and the same animals like kind of reacting or answering to them, it's simply a great scientific achievement. What did you learn or what did you discover after doing these tapes, and did the baboons answer, and what did you discover in that area?
Well, I think the most interesting thing for us is that you can use these experiments on vocal communication to study how the animals think and what they know about them, what they know about each other. And here's an example. In one of our experiments, we would wait until three females were sitting together, and then we would play from a concealed loudspeaker the vocalizations of one of their juveniles. One of the females has a juvenile, and we would record that juvenile's scream or distress call. And then we would play it from a concealed loudspeaker to see if the mothers responded more strongly to the calls of their own offspring as opposed to other offspring. And we found that they did. But the interesting thing was that when we played this sound, the two other females looked at the mother as if to say, that scream goes with that juvenile goes with you. What are you going to do about this? In other words, using these vocalizations, we can get some evidence that the animals know about the social relationships that exist among others. And so
Wow. Yeah.
the interesting thing about baboons, and the reason why scientists are interested in them, is that they live in a very complex society that is organized around two general principles: kinship and dominance rank. So that when a young baboon grows up, if it's a male baboon, at about age 6 or so, when it's beginning to get fully adult size, it leaves the group where it was born and goes to join another group. And the males spend their lives moving from one group to another. The females, on the other hand, stay in the group where they were born for their entire lives. And they have very close bonds with their mothers and their sisters. And if you came out and followed the baboons with us and learned to recognize all the individuals, you'd suddenly realize that there's one female in the group who, whenever she moves through the group, other animals sort of step aside. It's not that this female is aggressive, it's just the others defer to her. And as her daughters grow up, the daughters acquire dominance ranks immediately below those of their mothers. So the group is organized in a kind of hierarchical female matrilines, with the highest ranking female at the top, and then her children, and then the next ranking female, and then her children, all the way down to the lowest ranking animal in the lowest ranking family. And now this is very interesting because it suggests that kinship and rank interact to structure the society. But to us, the interesting question was, do the baboons themselves know about other animals' kin relations? Do they see the world in terms of these ranked matrilineal families? And experiments like those with vocalizations can allow us to test whether they know this.
You know, talking about this, after us and after the great apes, baboons have one of the, like you said, the most complex hierarchies or societies in the animal world. And regarding that, they know each other. I believe they do. And as you said, your research has proven that they do. And that's really amazing because if we go to the ranks, even the highest ranking female know the lowest ranking. And for example, in the case of the males, when they leave, they will try to fight with the alpha male of the group they are going to enter to, right? And then they can copulate with the females, and then it's where the kind of fight starts, right?
Yes,
When
all that's correct, right.
they kill the young to try to assume the dominance in the group. And well, in all of this, the females, the only thing they would try to do is to protect the young and to stay with the alpha male. And of course, the alpha male has to protect them, because if not, then other will come and will take his position. That's a very interesting topic indeed. And recently I posted in my blog a post about Hamadryas baboons.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly, Hamadryas baboons are the only species that its society is mostly patriarchal instead of matriarchal. Like, I mean, a species of baboon, they are more patriarchal than matriarchal. So, continuing up, do you have anything else to add on this topic, on this section of the interview?
No, I think, but this is an interesting issue to us because, as you know, among all mammals, primates tend to have larger brains for their body weight than other mammals do. And old world monkeys are an example of that. And so the question is, what has what in their environment has favored individuals over evolutionary time that have larger brains and greater intelligence. And one of the arguments that we have made is that one of the pressures that baboons face is the pressure to know as much as they can about their very complex societies. So this is of evolutionary importance, and it may help us begin to understand why humans are even more extreme in this sense among primates than monkeys and apes.
Wow. Simply wow. Just what you said was like, like that moment when you start thinking, thinking. That's that's simply very complex indeed. Like having bigger brains, trying to understand everything in their complex society. And of course, they can be a clue to know why we have evolved that much and all of that. So, going back to the questions, what is your favorite thing about baboons? What do you like of them, and why? What made you study them? What was like that thing that changed everything and you said, I have to study them, I have to know more about them, to try to investigate this?
Well, I think people have, long before I was interested in baboons, some of the professors who taught me when I was a student, they had gotten interested in baboons because baboons are very successful. They are spread throughout all of Africa, not so much in the Congo River Basin, but every place else in Africa. That's one thing. So they're very successful. The second is that baboons show an interesting sort of diversity in their social organization. You mentioned Hamadryas baboons having a sort of patrilineal social organization. Many other baboons have the kind of matrilineal social organization organized around the females that I studied. But there are now studies going on in Senegal and West Africa studying Guinea baboons, and their social organization is different in many important respects. And there's another study going on in Zambia on Kinda baboons, about which we're only beginning to learn things, and their social organization is also a little bit different from what we expect. So baboons provide us with an example of a species that has proliferated throughout Africa and in every place has a subtly different social organization. This is interesting because could be very well a model for the way in which humans have proliferated throughout Africa and in many cases have different social organizations.
Of course, and even in some areas, they have been so successful that their numbers can round the 100 or 200 individuals in just one group. And regarding what you said about they being so predominant in all the continent, what are some of their threats? Do they have threats? Because yeah, they do have a stable population, they do have big numbers, but do they have threats or do they suffer from something in the wild?
They're not really threatened in any area. In southern Africa, they often raid farmlands, and those farms, the farmers shoot them. But otherwise, baboons are very successful, and that's another reason that people were attracted to studying them, because they're easy to find.
Very, very interesting indeed, because, you know, as the other great apes, or yeah, the similar species like baboons, are all endangered or vulnerable, how this species maintained for so long and kept going on, that's also a very interesting topic. Well, continuing, what what can you highlight, or what other thing did you see on your research in Botswana and in South Africa?
I didn't quite understand your question. Your microphone seems to be behaving a bit oddly.
I'm, I'm sorry for that. Wait a second. I will do it again. Well, Robert, that's very interesting indeed. And regarding the baboons, the baboon research you have done in South Africa and Botswana, what else can you highlight about it? Or what else have you discovered apart from their social hierarchy and their vocalizations?
Well, they've got an array of vocalizations, and as people often point out, baboons, like other primates, have a very small repertoire of signals. They, unlike humans who have thousands of words, baboons make only maybe 15 or 20 different sounds. And that would make them seem to be very different from humans. But on the other hand, they use these sounds in a huge variety of social interactions. So when a baboon hears a vocalization, in order to decide what that vocalization means, they have to integrate two sorts of information. They listen to the vocalization, say a simple grunt, and then they look around and see what's going on, who's involved, who made the grunt, and from that they decide what the meaning of the grunt is, what the grunt is about. And this is interesting because it's an interesting cognitive problem for the baboons. They have a rather simple set of communicative signals, but to understand what those signals mean, they have to integrate information from the context. Just as you or I, when we're talking with someone, how we interpret the meaning of what they say depends on our past interactions with them, what we know about what they do, what the purpose of the conversation is, and so on. So this is another thing that we've learned about primates that may help us understand what the early evolution of human language was like.
Wonderful. It's simply wonderful to know all of this stuff. And seeing it in person, I believe it's a lot different from seeing it from videos or from documentaries. Also, viewers, remember to watch my other interview that I posted today. It is with Chrissy, the baboon, and her caretaker. You can go watch it now. It is up, in the video. Just you can go to watch it and enjoy. In there, you will see most of the behavior and many of the behavior that our friend Robert is mentioning right now. So stay tuned, and I hope you watch it and like it. Well, Robert, before going, what do you think of International Baboon Day? Do you encourage our viewers to celebrate it in the years to come?
I think it's a great idea, and I hope that the viewers of your show will not only celebrate International Baboon Day, but will learn what they can about baboons and then expand their knowledge to learn about chimpanzees and gorillas and other primates in the wild.
And that's why I'm so grateful that you accepted to have this interview, because all of your valuable knowledge, I know that many of my viewers will use it and will learn a lot about baboons. And that's the purpose of this day. It is to raise awareness about them, it is to enjoy them, to celebrate them, and to relax, to live life like a baboon. I have heard they are very chill, they are very relaxed and they live their life and just like live their life like a baboon. Yeah, that would be a good slogan for the day.
I think that's an excellent idea.
Well, Robert, before ending this interview, would you tell our viewers a last inspiring message? You know, why they should take care of nature, why animals like baboons are as important as great apes or as more known animals, why we should celebrate this day and why we should raise awareness, learn more about the animal world, and in this case about baboons. Just give a message for my viewers and that would be just fine.
Well, I think it's a wonderful day, and it draws people attention on each day to each particular species, and animals as a rule, and primates in particular, present us with many different societies, and it gives us an opportunity to see the way in which natural selection has favored different sorts of social behavior in different circumstances in different species.
Very good message and perfect for the ending of this interview. By the way, do you work in an organization or do you support an NGO in Africa that is continuing this research on baboons?
Well, my work was always supported by the U.S. National Science Foundation and by my university, the University of Pennsylvania. But there are many wildlife organizations in Botswana that support wildlife of all sorts, and it's easy to find out about them and to get interested in organizations that support everything from primates to predators.
I imagine after the pandemic they are in need of donations, right?
Yes, yes.
Well, people, you hear that. You can donate, of course. I will track out some of the NGOs from Botswana that work with animals. And the what you said, the scientific fund, US Science Fund, are they accepting donations too?
Yes, and also the World Wildlife Fund is very active,
WWF. Yeah.
and the
Well,
International Union for the Conservation of Nature, IUCN,
I
that's all very good.
Well, people, all of that links will be down below. And also, you can go watch my latest interview with Mariela Superina, a specialist in the pink fairy armadillo in Argentina. She works for the IUCN in the Senar Trans Specialist Group, and you can learn a lot about that species down there. This here will be the video. Well, bye, have a nice day, see you, and remember, like and subscribe to my channel. I will be posting more stuff. And Robert, thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. A pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Bye.